You remember little bits of things when you're young. I'm not sure you remember them. I'm not even sure you remember them exactly, really, but as a youngster, I think I must have been quite, not lonely is not the word, but maybe a loner. I know I had my best friend, Gary Nuttall, he lived about 5 houses down. And I think we got to about 5 or 6, and then he beggared off to New Zealand. I keep thinking I'll catch him up one day, but never quite get around to it. But no, as I remember the childhood, I was a little bit of a loner, really, a bit of a bookworm. I used to sit there reading books. Enid Blyton, yeah, everybody read Enid Blyton. And as I got a little bit older, Just William books, loved Just William books. I had lots of jobs. I always worked. I had disposable income like nothing. I suppose the older I got, the less money I had, really, which is a bit weird. But there used to be a Tesco, and it must have been one of the early Tesco's in Central Darwin. I used to get on great with this regional manager. He always used to call me Lofty. And they had a tannoy there, and I remember he must have been in one day and he must have been looking for me, couldn't find me, and I remember the tannoy going, Lofty! Lofty! Get your ass to the office! Morning, everyone.
Do you remember the other two things you told me?
What's that?
Here's your edge start.
Right. Went down there and he said, what are you doing? Taking me A-levels. What are you going to do? What are you going to university? I think going to university. He said, forget it. We're starting a college. Next year. I want you to be on it. Yeah, I'll come on to that one. So, 883 was 7:30 now. From Devon. And I went home, I thought, do you know, we might have it right, this chap. And I went home and I had a word with Mum. And I said, Mum, I've just been talking to, I can't remember, it's Manny or whatever. And he's telling me what I should be, and he said he wants me to send me to college, he wants me to send Tesco are opening their own college, he wants me to go. And she turned round and said, you can't do that. You can't. There's no future. Look, I've been working in shops all my life. There's no future working in a shop. Well, there you go. The rest was history. Could have been at Tesco. So they put the thing in and then just put the top in and then fill the chips in.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's where I would be looking.
So you'd be looking at something like
that. So it keeps it off, keeps it down. Because that then is, they've got to fill it with bloody chips. I had work on a building site during the school holidays. I was 14 years old. I was working on a building site. Sounds ridiculous now. Sounds even more ridiculous when I was helping the joiner up on the roof on one day, just putting in the A-frames on the roof and lining up the barge boards on the end, and he said push, and this damn wood was all bent all over the place, and I pushed all right. I pushed that hard that I pushed myself right over and went head first over the top of the roof. And I came out, so I went into hospital with 3rd-degree burns. You're not normal, you fall off a roof and come out with 3rd-degree burns, but I did anyway. Barbecues and barbecue sets. We won't see any of the work at all. It's just print trials, yeah. Okay, chaps. There was a group of us, about 10 or 11, and we used to just get together in the bar. Everything was always around the bar. I seemed to spend my life in the bar, really, and I was only 18, 19. And one chap, he was from the Midlands, from Northampton. I don't remember his nickname, we used to call him Mad Ant. He weren't there, and he didn't come back. I was like, where's Mad Ant? Where's he gone? Oh, he's left, he's gone, he's got a job. Got a job, what's he got to do? He's gone working in a cardboard box factory. Well, roared. He's gone working in a cardboard box factory. It sounded ridiculous. He's gone working in a cardboard box factory. He's left university. Little did I know, umpteen years later, I'd start working in a cardboard box factory, and I've been working there for 28 flipping years. 1983 I started. The funny thing and the sad thing really in many ways about my dad is that I didn't know very much about his past, and he didn't talk very much about it because I think he used to fight with his father. And then before I could really get into the whys and wherefores of what my dad thought about this or that or the other, he was dead. He'd gone. At the day of the funeral, when we were sat down, no black ties allowed. And it was quite a nice day, and the funeral was in Blackburn, and we all went back to my uncle's. And you sat down, and these guys are coming up to you and say, well, you're the man of the house now. You know, you've got to look after your mum, you've got to do it. She hasn't been around for a long while.
She's here.
I know. We're going to get interrupted on this conversation. Yeah, I started going at Susan McNicholas. I started going out with her when I was 14. That was before my dad. Before my dad died. And it just never occurred to me that I wouldn't just carry on and be with her. And it took me a long while to get over that because, and it did take me a hell of a long, maybe 5 years, 4 years, which was a bit ridiculous really, but of course you don't know, you don't control these things, they just happen. And I suppose it's because in my own mind I knew where I was going to be, and I knew what was planned out and how life was planned out, and it ended up not being like that. And I suppose in a way, because I'd never thought of it any other way, I felt a bit lost, floundering for a while. One pom, and all these Aussies, they never let me forget I was a pom. Effing pom this, effing pom that. That was the only word. I didn't have a name, I was just called the effing pom. But they were great guys really. And they came and they went, but they were a nucleus, and we went around Turkey, back around Greece, came back across Corfu, through Italy, worked your way up through Austria into Germany. And the whole point of that was, didn't realise at the time, but the great big meeting point for the Aussies was the Oktoberfest, the Munich festival, the beer festival. And there's just this raucous roar, and on one side there's Aussie, Aussie, and on the other side's Kiwi, Kiwi. Just thousands, and all these people meeting up from the other side of the world. It's quite incredible really. You queued up at this wood hut to get these tickets for the riverboat, and it was absolutely scorching and just pelting down with heat. And I got there and I just said, I'm not going. Stood there for all that time in the bloody heat and decided not to go. Don't really know at that moment why I decided not to go, but I worked my way back to England. And when I reflect afterwards, I suspect that had I gone, I would never come back. I met her, she'd gone her own way. She'd gone down and she was living in Hastings and she was married. And I suppose we met up and things weren't going very well for her down there, and she came back up from Hastings. and we just got together, really. It's very, very strange when you think about that, but about how it was, but we'd seemed to know each other forever and ever and ever, and we'd always got on very, very well, like a house on fire, really. I don't suppose you consider just what a change to your life having a child is. But all of a sudden, it's a monumental change, and it's not that your life isn't your own, because that would be ridiculous. It's just there's a completely new dimension to your life because you're responsible for someone else. And you just embrace that responsibility. As soon as you have children, there is something else in your life that you've been walking around with for however long, just completely unaware of this thing inside you. And you have a child, and this thing inside you is just awakened, and it's a shock to the system. One hell of a shock to the system. Second child comes along, everything's much more relaxed, much more easy to take it in your stride, because you've done it all once. And I suppose then you get a bit cocky and a bit confident when you've had two, and then you have three, and gee whiz, three is like having one all over again. 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 3 kids. It really is. Having the third child for me was nearly as much of a shock as having the first. As time went on and as children start leaving the home, maybe that's when you then reflect, your children start leaving the home, and then you start looking at what there is left in you and what's going on and where's your life, and it becomes quite disabling. Everything you want from yourself is still all tied into your kids, because your kids don't leave you. They don't not become children. You listen to it, you hear it all the time, you listen to grandmas, you listen to them talking, you listen to your own parents talking, other people's parents talking, and they say, "You're always a child to me, you're always my baby." And quite frankly, when you're listening to it, you think, what is that rubbish? That's just nonsense. But the truth of the matter is, that is true. I don't particularly have any fears. If I have fears, the fears would be about the family, really. Again, about them not having wonderful, fulfilling lives. You know, we can't control what might happen, and life might come to an end at any moment. But whilst we do have it, we've got to understand how we can get the most out of it. I will just carry on doing what I'm doing. Working too hard, too long, but hopefully always being there when people want me.